What will he find out there, Doctor?
His destiny. This whole thing is insane. Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
I'm back. I know it's been a few days. That's because I actually kind of decided to make a change to this little season of DC covers. It was originally going to be I was going to cover this, what I'm covering in this, which is Planet of the Apes 1974. It's a television series. And when I first started saying I was going to cover it, I'd never seen it before. So I was like, okay, it has 14 episodes. I'm going to do 4 episodes for the first part, 5 episodes, then 5 episodes. And I watched the first 4 episodes, and I could not do a single show out of those 4 episodes because it would have just been too short. So I was like, okay, I'll add some more episodes to it. And I ended up watching the entire thing. Now, the reason why it doesn't really make for a good split is because this is a serial. And if you don't know what a serial is a series of television that doesn't have a cohesive story. It's a bunch of single episodes. So this is like the Twilight Zone or something like this. This isn't like the X-Files where you start here, the next episode furthers the story, and on and so on and so forth. This doesn't do that. Doesn't really have a cohesive story. It's basically you have 2 or actually 3. One of them, 3 astronauts that crash on the Planet of the Apes. One of them dies, and a ape ends up trying to help them. And you have two humans and a chimpanzee running around, and they're just trying to escape capture from the other apes. That's the plot of the movie. That's the plot of the TV show. And every episode they get into different shenanigans, and that's it. There isn't in this episode they find a computer, and in this episode they have to find out how to use the computer, and in this episode Galen has a love interest, and in this episode she dies. It's not like that. There aren't many story elements that actually pull from the previous episode. So while I was going to go down the line and do every single episode and just be like, yeah, this is what I'm basically going to do that, but I'm going to spend more time on 5 of the best episodes, which in all honesty, there's really only 5 good episodes. So this was not a good show. It was canceled after 1 season, and I could see why. I mean, the excuse that the producers and everybody gave it was that it was given a bad time slot. It was on at 10 o'clock at night. But in reality, it just wasn't a good show. It was your typical 1970s show, except it wasn't good. This was like a A-Team or a Dragnet or something like that, except this just wasn't good. And the timeline's screwy, and it takes place in 3085, so it takes place before Taylor lands on the Planet of the Apes in the first Planet of the Apes. And so it's 900 years before. Humans can speak. Humans wear pants and shirts. That's a weird one. There's dogs. There's a dog in the first episode. There's no dogs after that. There's only dogs in the first episode. Nothing more. But there's dogs, and dogs and cats were supposed to have died out. I mean, what else was there? There's a point where they're looking through an encyclopedia and they find a picture of New York in 2503. And according to the movie timeline, the world was destroyed far before that. The world was destroyed in 1991. The world was destroyed in 2018. So why is New York okay? This doesn't take place in New York like all the other ones do. This takes place in San Francisco. My shirt's peeking here. Is this family? I figured it's my Texas Chainsaw Massacre shirt. Yeah. I hate the show Friends, so this shirt kind of mocks that, and I like it. Anyway, I got a little sidetracked. I'm a little ADHD. But I'll go ahead and go through the cast, because there's only 4 people you need to worry about. There is Roddy McDowall playing Galen. Again, Roddy McDowall, my man. I personally would have loved to have seen him play a human or something at some point in this television show, just show up as a human. But instead, this is the third time he's playing an ape, and it's a third different character. There is Verdon. His name's Alan Verdon, played by Ron Harper. He's one of your astronauts. Basically, he is a big, tough, smart guy. He can fight, but he's smart. And he shows that a lot in the show. There's a lot of episodes where he shows the apes something. It's really kind of cool, honestly. You have Peter Burke, played by James Naughton. He is, think Taylor and Quagmire have a baby, and it's Burke. He is smart, he's a pilot, but he's also a ladies' man, you know? So, and I could tell you that the characters are very likable in the show. Like, Galen's cool, Verdon's cool, and Burke's cool. So they're awesome. Those are your protagonists. And then you have Urko, played by Mark Leonard. If you're a Trek fan, then you know Mark Leonard is Spock's father. So he actually was famous. And there is one thing. There's another reoccurring character in this series, and there's only one real other one, and I honestly didn't write it down, but Zaius is in this. Now, I don't know if it's that Zaius. I don't know if it's Zaius from Planet of the Apes and Battle for the Planet of the Apes. It doesn't make sense if it is, because if it is, then Zaius in Planet of the Apes is 900 years old. So that's a little screwy. Maybe he's a descendant, but Zaius is also like in San Francisco and not New York. So it's a very strange show. And Rod Serling, the writer of Twilight Zone, actually wrote the first 2 episodes, but they threw him out and then created 2 different shows. So he actually doesn't even get credit for that. The first episode is indeed just getting to know the characters, finding out what happened. They crash on the planet, they get out of the spaceship, and Galen kind of helps him out. He is actually kind of a smarmy character in the first episode. Slick uses his family to get ahead in life. You know, oh well, my cousin runs this place, so I should get to work here. Blah, you know, that kind of stuff. And that it's getting to know your characters. And honestly, I have a list. I actually ranked every episode of this, and the very first episode is the worst episode. It's really bad, but it's a pilot. There's a lot of mistakes. Like there's points where you can actually see human skin underneath the ape makeup. It's just like hair, and then a human arm, and then hair. The hands. A lot of the apes are wearing gloves, and it's not like, I don't mean gloves as in gloves with hair on them. I'm talking about they're wearing like little white gloves. So it's kind of strange. Episode 2 is the first time where they go out and have one of their little adventures, and this one is they have a little computer disk, and they're looking for a computer to run it so they can learn how to rebuild the spaceship and stuff like that and go home. Last time that computer chip is ever mentioned is this episode. They go to a new town. Every single one, they go to a new town. Almost every single episode of this show is the exact same. They go to a new town, someone gets captured, Burke or Verdon or both, or Galen, they get captured and they have to free the person. That is literally almost every single episode. Almost. But in this one, they go to a new town, they're captured, and they're going to have gladiator fights. They fight another dude. They don't kill him. You're supposed to kill him, and he's like, you bring dishonor to me. The whole thing is they're trying to get this disc back. A ape picks up the disc, and they're trying to get it back. But they actually use a dude's son to help him escape in that episode. So the dude that he didn't kill, use him to help him escape. They escape to get the disc back. The next one is they go on a run here for 3 really good episodes, which I was like, oh man, this show is going to be really good. And then it just starts going. But episode 3 was called The Trap, where they're looking for a computer. Not a computer to play this disc. They're just looking for a computer. Because he's like, if I can find a computer, then maybe magically it'll have the internet and I'll be able to do it. He doesn't say that because the internet wasn't invented yet. But he's like, if I can get to a computer, I can learn how to do this. It's like, okay. And the whole episode is there's an earthquake, and Burke and Urko, the bad gorilla, are trapped together. And Urko just wants to kill these 3. That's the whole point of the show. And they're trapped underground in a subway station together. And they have to work together to escape. They actually have to. What ends up happening in that one is Verdon makes a deal with the other apes. If we help get Urko out and he survives, you have to let us all go. And when they get out, they're like, Urko's like going to kill them all. And they're like, no, I made a promise that I would let them go. And they do. They actually get let go. But there is a kind of important thing in here, because a lot of these episodes are about apes finding out that humans used to rule the world. It's an ongoing thing. It's like in every episode, it's like, oh, but wait a second, how did you know how to fly? That's weird. And in this one, Urko finds a poster for a zoo, and it's a bunch of children looking in on an ape enclosure. So he's like, oh, what's going on here? And it kind of like shakes his faith. But he's still the bad guy through the whole thing. Episode 4 was probably, I don't know, I want to say that may have been my favorite episode. Yeah. Episode 4 was like my favorite episode. It was like wicked good. They go to another town, to a farm where it's run by apes, and Galen actually has an ankle injury. Galen is Roddy McDowall's character. He has an ankle injury, and while he is being healed, they promise to help the farm. Like, look, we'll help you if you just help our friend. And the whole thing is like, why do you keep calling him your friend? He's an ape. And the ape's like, and he's like, well, just take care of my friends. Why do you keep calling them your friends? They're humans. So it's like, wow, humans cannot be friends with apes. But through this whole episode, they're showing these apes like tricks. Because they're plowing fields. He's like, no, if you plow around the field and not up and down the field, you won't get rid of your topsoil. And they teach them how to irrigate. They teach them how to make water sprinkler systems. They teach them how to make showers. And it's like they teach them how to make a pulley for the hay, so you can pull the hay up and put it in the barn. At one point, though, Burke he's talking to an ape, and the ape's like, what are you doing building that fence? He's teaching him how to make a better fence. And he's like, you can't build a fence like that. He's like, yeah, whatever you say, massa. And Burke is white. He said, whatever you say, massa. And I'm like, whoa, 1974. All right. But one of the there's a cow that's going to have birth, and they're going to give birth. And it has birth. And it's superstition that you ring the bell, and the cow has to give birth to a boy, so the youngest or the oldest male of the family can go start his own farm. And this cow is not giving birth to a bull. It's only giving birth to cows, and it's a big issue. And they think that the humans are the reason. They're poisoning or something. I don't know, something weird. I liked it, but the thing gives birth to twin bulls, and they let Burke and everybody escape. That's pretty much it. I love that episode. It was cool. Episode 5 was Legacy, and it had Jackie Earle Haley in it. A young Jackie Earle Haley. Rorschach, Freddy Krueger from the remake. It was Jackie Earle Haley. I was like, holy crap, that's Jackie Earle Haley. That's really cool. He plays a mean little kid named Crake. And so they find a semi-abandoned town with a machine that they turn on, and it projects a image of a guy saying, oh, we have all our knowledge down beneath this subway. All you got to do is go find it. So the whole thing is they're going to go find these machines. It's a message of knowledge. They separate, and once again, someone gets captured. So Verdon's taken, and because Rorschach or Jackie Earle Haley gives him up for food, he's like, I'll give you this human if you just give me food. He gets his food. And they put him in the basement, and they're like, we have to know where his friends are, so let's use the boy and this woman. There's another woman. She's really kind of a non-entity. And they're like, if we put them in there with him, they can get information because humans talk to humans. And it does work. So they end up escaping and finding all the knowledge, but the apes find it too, and they end up destroying all the knowledge, so they get nothing. So this whole episode was a wash because they find the knowledge, but it's gone. After this, we go downhill. We had episode 6, which they find a dude floating in the ocean tied to a piece of wood. They're captured again, and they're taken as fishing slaves. They kill a shark with their bare hand. Well, no, they have a knife. They kill a shark with a knife, and they end up teaching people how to make a net to catch more fish, and that's how they escape. They're like, oh, they're good people. They know how to fish. Let them go. Not a good episode. We had episode 7, which is called The Surgeon. There's another ape here called Kira. And this was actually, they asked Kim Hunter, the girl who played, who was in the first Planet of the Apes. You know, she played Zira, Cornelius and Zira. She played Zira. They asked Kim Hunter, and Kim Hunter said, no, I'm done with that makeup. I ain't doing this. This is horrible. Basically, Verdon gets shot, and they are captured, and they're going to do surgery on them, but they don't know what they're doing. And they're like, we don't know anything about human anatomy, so what are we going to do? And Galen's like, look, I happen to know that there are books written by humans about the human anatomy, and he sneaks in and steals one from Zaius, which makes me think that it's actually Zaius, because he's keeping secrets. Doesn't make any sense. So how is he 900 years old in the first one? So he sneaks in, grabs it. They actually do the surgery, and they do a blood transfusion, which was tried once before, apparently, according to the show. It was tried once before where they did it, but the person died. And the woman who gave her blood, they called her, they said she had poison blood because she kills people. But Burke's over here like, no, she was just incompatible. If you mix 2 incompatible blood types, then they'll die. And they were like, well, we don't know what you're talking about. But they test it, and it turns out that her and Verdon are matching. They do the blood transfusion. Verdon lives. Happy days. They escape, and they leave again. Do you see a pattern? Captured, escape, captured, escape, captured, escape. Whatever. The next one, episode 8, is called The Deception, in which there's a blind ape that falls in love with Burke, who is pretending to be an ape, and the whole time he won't let her touch him because he's like, no, I can't let her find out she's a human. And this is like, there is a Ku Klux Klan made of apes. All they're trying to do is kill humans. I mean, they wear the hoods and everything. I'm dead serious about this. The daughter hates humans. The blind ape is in love with Burke. There's mobs against human. There's an ape killed by a human, but it turns out that the ape wasn't killed by the human. It was not a good episode, but, I mean, for the Ku Klux Klan thing alone, it was like, wow, 1970s was bonkers. The next one was episode 9, which wasn't a bad one. It wasn't one of my top, but it wasn't a bad one. It was called The Horse Race, where Galen gets stung by a scorpion, and they have to find the antidote quickly. But since they're wanted men, they can't go to the local medicine woman. I don't know. So they send another human to go do it, but he gets caught by gorillas, and apparently humans are not allowed to ride horses. So he gets captured, and they have to do a horse race to help him escape. And these people that are holding this kid just so happens to be Urko, the bad gorilla. And they have the race, and they try to rig it to where the human will lose. Doesn't work. Human wins. Kid survives. Everything's cool. They race for human freedom. But in this one, there is a point when they're riding horses, and Galen actually, whenever they help They help the kid escape. They're not going to let him go. Like, I don't care that you won. He ain't getting out. And they're like, okay. So they steal horses, and Galen hops on the horse that's carrying the cage, and he rides off, and Galen goes, yeehaw! Cracked me up. I was like, hearing Roddy McDowell say yeehaw, like, just, it made my day. Like I said, it wasn't a bad episode, just wasn't a great one. The next was episode 10, which was pretty intense, and it was actually high up there. I think this was actually number 6 out of my top 5, because it's really intense and has like some really like grinding on your nerves type music. But Burke is captured. Again, what? Burke is captured, and they're interrogating him to try to find out where the others are. Where, I'll say it's Burke, so where Galen and all of them are. And Galen has to go to his mom and dad, so you get to meet Galen's mom and dad in this. But they do escape, so they survive it. Like, that's pretty much it. I mean, he survives the interrogation and all that. The next one, episode 11, was the Tyrant, and this is one of my top ones. I really like this episode. They hijack a grain cart. Our protagonists actually do something bad. Verdon, Burke, and Galen all hijack a grain cart because they stole the grain from a farm. And they're like, no, we're going to get that grain back for them. But the kid actually joins in on the little boy, not the little boy, but the son of the farmer joins in. And he's like, no, I'm gonna help you out. And they're like, no, what are you doing? And they get the grain back. Everything, you think everything's all happy and everything. They ride off, but the guerrillas come back and shoot the father and the son. The son's dead. The father lives, but the father wants revenge by any means necessary. And then the big point of the show is the guerrilla leader that stole all the grain actually becomes the leader of the government of that. See, they're all led by a different person. They're all led by a different ape, and he becomes the leader of this one. And usually they're called prefects. They're usually run by orangutans. So this is one of the first times a gorilla has ever run, and he's a tyrant. That's the name of the episode. So they actually are going. They send Galen in there to pretend to be someone else, and Galen's like, oh, well, if you want real power, you need to go to the council and make sure Urko gets tossed out. And he's like, no, I got a better idea. Let's kill Urko. And it's like, uh-oh. And they're like, wait a second. And they actually tell Urko. Galen and the dudes actually tell Urko. They're like, dude, this dude's going to kill you. And he doesn't believe him, and he captures him, of course. But through means, they actually reveal the truth. And they all live. Yay! Episode 12, not good. It's called The Cove. Or The Cave, sorry. Is it The Cove? I don't know what it is. It's either The Cave or The Cove. I don't remember. It wasn't good. All I remember is it had Sandra Locke in it. If you don't know who Sandra Locke is, Sandra Locke was in a crap load of Clint Eastwood movies because they dated for 14 years. And if you ever want to know what kind of a person Clint Eastwood is, and I really apologize if you're a fan, because I'm a fan, like, I love his movies, but if you ever want to know what kind of a person Clint Eastwood is, read the story of Sandra Locke and Clint Eastwood. You will learn that Clint Eastwood is one of the biggest pieces of crap in Hollywood. He is a horrendous human being. Like, he was such a dick to Sandra Locke. I'm talking forced abortions. He cheated on her, and when she called him out on it, he blackballed her from Hollywood. Like, he wouldn't work with certain production companies if they hired Sandra Locke. You have to read about it. It is so bad. But anyway, Sandra Locke is in this, and she plays pretty much an ape hater. Well, not an ape hater, but it's kind of an ape hater. And Verdon kind of spills the secret to her. He's like, look, we are from the future and stuff. And she's like, oh my God. And they've been hidden for a while. So she actually runs the risk of telling someone. But the biggest thing here is there is a human virus that causes a fever, and they go into quarantine. I'm not even kidding. This is crazy. There's actually a virus that causes them to go into lockdown. But it turns out to be malaria. and they find the cure through tree sap, and they make a drink, cure malaria, everything's solved, they all survive. It wasn't one of the best episodes. Next one, episode 13, was one of the best episodes. This one's called The Liberator. There's an escaped slave, but they help him. They're like, oh, they save him from the gorillas, and he ends up turning them in. He's like, oh yeah, they saved me, but yeah, we're turning them in. We find out that they're in some kind of a weird cult where the gorillas get 5 of their people twice a month in the summer, and they are finding people on this road, kidnapping them, and then giving them to the gorillas so their own people won't be taken. It's a whole thing. This dude is a cult leader, and he has set up his cave, his temple, to like only I can enter and not die. But he has like a gas that's killing people. So it's a very interesting episode. They end up blowing up the temple and everything. It's a cool episode. And then there was episode 14, which is the very last episode. This was called Up Above the World So High. This is where we find a human hang gliding. So there is a flying human in this. And they find him. The apes kidnap him. And they're gonna make him teach them how to make these hang gliders. But the Burke and Art, what's his name? Burden. I forgot his name. Burke and Burden are like, that's not going to work. That hang glider won't stay in the air. You need to do this. And we have a chimpanzee that Galen and her are kind of flirting around. You're like, ooh, this is getting kind of special. But she is evil, and she has bombs, and she just wants to learn how to fly so she can bomb the apes. She wants to bomb the gorillas and the orangutans so chimpanzees can rule. She's a psychopath. And but they end up Galen ends up flying, which is cool. They ended up building the hang glider, and it's like, okay, well, the human has to prove that this thing can fly, and we'll let him live. But if it fails, then he's dead. It's like, all right, but they build it, they fly, they pretend to crash to kill themselves, and we end on them saving Galen floating away. And that is actually the end of the show, because it was canceled abruptly after that. Now, this is a show that was planned from before Battle for the Planet of the Apes went into pre-production. They knew it was going to become a television show, and the bad production and costume design and makeup from Battle actually helped this show, because this show looks like Battle for the Planet of the Apes, so it doesn't look like it's a downgrade. It was just very little budget. But at the end, I give the entire series, I'm going to rank it, and it's going to be in the rankings, 5.5 out of 10. 5.5 out of 10. That's what I get it. There's a person that really loves my southern accent, so sometimes I will give them a little more of my southern accent. I'll just be like, man, I sure do love them Planet of the Apes, man. That's a good old show right there. I'll tell you what. Yeehaw. That's how I talked as a kid. Not even kidding. Like go fishing. But I'm from Tennessee. I'm allowed to make fun of Southerners. So, 5.5 out of 10. Wasn't like a masterpiece. In fact, that's the lowest rating I've given anything in the series. None of the characters are going to be included in the top at the end of the retrospective, because I feel that's unfair to have a character that we got to spend so much time on. This was basically 10 hours, 45 minutes an episode, 14 episodes. This is basically 10 hours, so we got to know these characters for 10 hours instead of an hour and a half at a time. So they have a deeper thing, deeper character development, and that's really unfair when you put it against a movie. So none of these guys will be in the rankings. But it wasn't great. But the next one, I'm actually doing another television series. This is going to be 30 minutes an episode, so it won't be as hard. I'm I'm hoping to get it done Monday. And then hopefully Wednesday for Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Maybe Thursday, Friday, something like that for the final trilogy. Because I want to get this done before week after next, because I will not be here. I will be on vacation, and I'm not doing this while I'm on vacation, so I want to finish this up. But yeah, I'll be doing the television series. It's the animated television series. This one was actually a Planet of the Apes that was made for children. This was a Saturday morning cartoon. It is much in... I've watched one episode ever. It was an episode that actually came with a Planet of the Apes DVD. Back in the day when I had DVDs, before Blu-ray and 4K. But I watched one episode, and it's not bad. It's very much in the vein of the Star Trek television show, animated television show. And personally, I'm one of those people that actually liked the Star Trek television show, the animated television show. I very much enjoyed it. And with the animation style, this Planet of the Apes animation style is like a mixture, if you can imagine it, and it's hard to imagine, if you can imagine a mixture of Scooby-Doo and C-Lab. Like, it's a lot like that. This is the first time that Roddy McDowall has nothing to do with the series, or not only the second time that Roddy McDowall has nothing to do with a part of the series. Beyond this, Roddy McDowall had nothing to do with Burton or the new trilogy, but like of the original 70s. I think this took place this aired in 75. So, all right. But thank you for joining me for this. I know that I sped through this, and a lot of it's not going to make any sense. But in all honesty, I'll go ahead and tell you that you probably don't need to watch this series. It is not important. It doesn't follow any of the storylines, and it's really not that good. So this is a skip, And to the one person I know for a fact that watches my show every time. I don't know how many people actually watch this show, but I know of one person that watches the show every time, and it's not my wife. My wife has never seen an episode of this. She hears these rants all day. She doesn't care. But thank you for everybody, whoever you are, if there's more than one of you, for watching this Planet of the Apes television series episode. And hopefully you'll join me for the animated show. Yeah. Hopefully.